Many years ago, there was a man named Manoah and his wife who lived in the land of Israel. They were good people, but they had no children. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and told her she would have a son. The angel also said that this child was to be a Nazirite from birth, which meant he had to follow special rules. He should never drink wine or strong drink, never touch anything unclean, and never cut his hair. This son would begin to save Israel from the Philistines, who were oppressing him at that time. True to the angel's word, Manoah's wife gave birth to a son, and they named him Samson. As Samson grew, it became clear that he was no ordinary man. God blessed him with incredible strength, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir in him. One day, when Samson was young, he was walking through the vineyards of Timnah when a young lion came roaring toward him. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, and he tore the lion apart with his bare hands as if it were a young goat. Later, he passed by the same place and saw that bees had made honey in the carcass of the lion. He scooped some out and ate it, sharing it with his parents but not telling them where it came from. Samson fell in love with a Philistine woman from Timnah. Despite his parents' objections, he insisted on marrying her, for he believed it was part of God's plan to confront the Philistines. During the wedding feast, Samson posed a riddle to the 30 Philistine men who were attending. The riddle was, "Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet." The riddle referred to the honey he had found in the lion's carcass. The Philistines couldn't solve the riddle, so they coerced Samson's new wife into getting the answer from him. When they solved the riddle, Samson was furious. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, and gave their clothes to those who had answered the riddle. In his anger, he went back to his father's house. Later, Samson returned to Timnah to visit his wife, only to find that she had been given to someone else. In revenge, Samson caught 300 foxes, tied their tails together in pairs, fastened a torch to each pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the Philistines' grain fields, vineyards, and olive groves, causing massive destruction. The Philistines retaliated by burning Samson's wife and her father to death. Enraged, Samson struck them down with great slaughter. Samson continued to fight against the Philistines. On one occasion, the Philistines came to arrest him, but the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. He found the fresh jawbone of a donkey, picked it up, and with it struck down 1,000 men. Despite his great strength, Samson had a weakness for women. He fell in love with Delilah, a woman from the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers offered Delilah a large sum of money to find out the secret of Samson's strength. Delilah pleaded with Samson to tell her, and after 3 unsuccessful attempts, he finally revealed that his strength lay in his uncut hair. If his hair was shaved, he would become as weak as any other man. While Samson slept, Delilah called a man to shave off his 7 locks of hair. With his strength gone, the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him to Gaza, where they bound him with bronze shackles and made him grind grain in prison. Over time, Samson's hair began to grow back. The Philistines gathered to celebrate their god Dagon and to mock Samson. They brought Samson out to entertain them. Standing between 2 pillars, Samson prayed to God to give him strength one last time. God granted his request. With all his might, Samson pushed against the pillars, causing the temple to collapse. In his death, he killed more Philistines than he had during his life. And so, Samson's life came to an end. He was a man of great strength and great flaws, but through him, God began to deliver Israel from the Philistines. His story reminds us that even the mightiest can fall, but also that God can use imperfect people to fulfill his purposes.